I don't think. Oh, I'm sending. Okay. Can you talk, Chris?
I can talk. I don't know if they'll be able to hear me.
They should
And I
be
don't.
able to hear you now.
There we go. He's got us.
I, if you were to watch the last Building Navyshla episode and watch this one, you would see a different orientation to my office because we turned my desk. And when we did that, I unplugged everything. And apparently OBS doesn't like you when you do that. So, uh, here's what we're doing. We're building Navyshla, which is a homebrew world, um, which does not yet actually completely exist as a homebrew world. So the whole idea here is I'm gonna DM this game in this brand new world, but wouldn't it be fun if the players helped create what they wanted to see in the world? So we'll talk about we're talking about each player's character, and then whatever they tell me they want to have happen, we work together to make that canon for Navyshla. So, in our past episodes, we've created uh, a cultural group of halflings that live on a flotilla floating around the coasts of an island named Urvokale, and we have created a uh, sort of some of the dimensional work there, where the planes of the elements, how they interact with the prime material plane of Navyshla, and how uh, the Manjin, I think is the name that they were given, but is basically a reskin of Genasi, come onto the prime material plane. And we have a dragon cult uh, that uses scarification to communicate who they are and their bodies, and also because of that created even a couple new towns on the main island that we're playing on, and um, almost created a Jeremiah Jones type character there with Dawson last time. Uh, I'm going mountaineering. Uh, and so tonight we're talking with Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Uh, and what are we drinking tonight, Chris?
We're drinking boxed red wine.
Indeed, I myself am enjoying the uh, the
The
Aldi
winking
winking owl.
owl. I'm
Most
having some something. I don't even remember. Nighthawk blend. The
Nighthawk.
table
Oh,
blend.
the Nighthawk red from isn't that Boda? I think that's Boda.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember if it's Boda or Black Box or whatever, but
yeah.
it's a red blend. It's delicious.
Yes, I am familiar with it. I am a connoisseur of all the boxed wines,
Hey,
uh,
ain't no shame in that game.
and that's why I endorse all these winking owl, because A, it's cheap, and B, it has a low alcohol content, which means I can drink more of it. It's pretty watered down.
I feel like you've just done your sponsorship spot,
Yeah, I feel
and
like,
we're good to go. That you did well.
and I know Ed as the official lawyer uh,
Right?
for this channel, and personally for me. Ed does not represent any of us. we'll
He's panic typing right now. I'm not the official lawyer for
I,
anything.
I don't represent any of you fuckers.
I don't even want to represent the people I do represent.
um, but maybe he can tell me if I've just violated Twitch's terms of service by like advertising alcohol on the channel in such a blatant. Anyway, we'll find out when I get my notification later from the 5 people who are watching this, and I get reported.
Well,
Oh,
5 of them are.
well, wait a
We've
minute.
got Dawson, Ed, Robin, a
Yeah.
bot, you, and I.
Oh my gosh, we're even down 2 bots that we normally have. Man, we're so boring we can't even attract the bots.
Look at Ed covering himself in chat right now.
Oh,
Legally binding.
Corey says
Hey,
he's
is that
here,
Corey? Hi, Corey. He is a bot.
and
So
yet Corey can hide himself in the viewer list.
interesting.
Man, that is a skill.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about people's crazy internet skills or Ed's
Lack of legal
decisions.
obligation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to say it, right? Um,
Yeah, let's
I,
build some Navyshla. Ask me some questions. What do you want to know?
all right. Well, first off, let's start off with um, okay, I am like pinging back to myself. I'm hearing myself looped.
I'm just hearing one of you and one of me.
Hmm.
For those of you just tuning in, Paul unplugged everything and plugged it back in, and turns out there's been an issue. Oh, Corey can hear you 3 times,
Yep.
and Ed is hearing an echo, echo, echo of you.
Do you hear the echo now? Yeah, you will. I can hear it looping.
Oh, Corey was just kidding.
Yeah, it is a faint echo. I think what Ed's hearing is very similar to what. Okay.
Oh no, Ed's good.
Yeah, it went away.
Cool.
Sort of. Okay. Whatever. I'll deal with that later.
Sure.
Maybe just turn myself down to my headphones so that um the first thing we're gonna move us. Well, no, I'm not. I'm gonna first just ask, what's your character's name? Do you have that?
I do have a name, or more a moniker. I don't know what their real name is yet,
Okay.
but they go by Gimgam.
Gim Gam.
Gimgam. Gimgam.
Now
Gimgam.
I have some vague sense of what you're angling towards playing. When I
Okay.
hear Gim Gam,
Mhm.
I think of a shorthand name for grandma.
That is exactly what it is. Yep.
Okay. Bet it's hags.
So, yep, Gimgam is a bog witch. She's not a hag, or
Oh.
they're not a hag. She's not a hag. She's not a hag. She's a bog witch, and she got her name, which is one of your questions.
Okay.
She got her name because she does bog witch stuff, right? She hangs out in a swamp in her little hut in her little cabin, and people come to her for potions or trinkets, or they need help with something, so they go to the sort of scary bog witch that lives out in the sticks, and they pay her with canned goods or whatever they can afford, right? She's
Canned
that
goods.
like
I love that.
she's
And
she's that eccentric, like, sort of seems sort of addled kind of bog witch.
okay.
And what happened is no one knew her name. No one said anything to her about her name. They kind of, like, here's your stuff, help me out. And then they try to get the hell out of there as quickly as they possibly could. Like the creepy house that you trick or treat at. Like, I need the king size candy bar, but also that dude's always shaking his broom at me. So feeling a little nervous about it. But one day,
Oh.
a mother and her daughter came for something. I'm not really sure what. They came for something. They needed something. Maybe it was some sort of jilted lover that wouldn't leave her alone or something like that. So they were coming for something. And the little girl, who was 4, just pointed at her and said, "Gim Gam." Like, "That's my Gim Gam." And the mom was like affronted, like, "No, we don't say something offensive to the bog witch. She might turn you into a."
A
And
newt.
Gim Gam, yeah, and Gim Gam was like, "Oh, that's kind of nice. It's all right. She can call me that."
Mm-hmm.
So that's and then the name sort of trickled out there. Most people are still too afraid to use it, but there's this one little girl who has called her that her entire life, and now she's seen the girl grow up, and
Mm.
so that's where her name comes from. Is this one patron who the daughter was just brave enough to, like, she looks like a grandma, and so she went with it.
Gim Gam.
Gim Gam.
Love it.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, bog witch? How does
Uh,
that skin out as a class
mm-hmm. I
and a
think
species slash ethnicity?
so. I think artificer is what's going to make the most sense for a class. I sort of wobbled because I thought maybe a ranger, and I sort of thought about maybe a druid, and I might multi-class into
Okay.
druid down the road. In my head, we needed something where she would constantly be able to make stuff. And that's really what the artificer does. Little enchantments. I used to, like, in my head, I was thinking like tiny curses and tiny blessings.
Yeah.
And particularly in the early levels, that's all an artificer is doing, is like real small stuff.
Yeah.
So I figured artificer, so she could make a enchanted item And then, once she applies her enchantment to a different item, maybe that first enchantment fades out or. So Artificer is the class I think makes sense. I might multi-class into Druid just for the ability to wild shape
Okay.
because she lives in the swamp, and that's a part of her jam is the ability to shapeshift. She's changeling, or however we're gonna skin changeling, but
Well, it,
that's the race will kind of pull from.
okay. So what we're doing when what we've done thus far is like
Mhm.
when Dusty chose Genasi, whatever. Um, basically, we just are using the stat block for Genasi,
Yeah,
and so we'll use the Eberron Changeling stat block. And to me, Changeling is kind of a vanilla term, so that's fun.
sure.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the Echo is back, and I think it has to do with Ed's mentioning that the Echo's back a little. Uh, I had set up all of my audio to have compression and all kinds of stuff on it that would prevent anything like this, plus hearing me breathe heavily into the mic, which happens because I'm a big old mouth breather. Uh, but but that apparently has all disappeared, and now all of my levels are really high, and yet there's no compression on the mic. So maybe during any break we may or may not take, I might do a little audio tweaky
Sure.
to get this fixed. But I want to pay
Yeah,
attention to the conversation, so I'll deal with
right.
that shit later.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fine.
um, so we'll use the changeling. Now the thing is if you would like the changeling, how would you like to explain being a changeling?
Yeah, that's another good question that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into.
Okay.
So I was thinking about it tonight, and I was kind of kicking around the idea. One of the things that I had when I thought of this like Bog Witch character, which has been sort of floating around in my mind for the past 10 months. I started doing a lot of hiking, and when I was out in the woods, I was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if there were a hut and there were this Bog Witch?" And um, so this has been sort of like developing. I'm very familiar with the character and who they are and the things they're into. One of the things that I thought of is that like Gimgam is a long-lived entity. They've been around for centuries. But the changeling stat block doesn't really that doesn't really jive. So I was thinking that maybe changelings were some sort of mutation of like elves because isn't doesn't the high elves live for a really long time?
I think all the elves do. I don't know that they differentiate in 5e.
Oh, I
Maybe
thought
they do.
high
I
elves
don't
were
know.
like hundreds of years.
Like
Um,
the Eladrin, and which is getting really deep cutty.
sure.
The Fae elves, they are
Okay.
really super fairy elves, and I think they live a shit ton long time. But
So that's what I was kind of thinking though
okay,
was that the changeling is more of a mutation of a different race, and they have this ability to be like to shapeshift and all of that fun sorts of stuff. They don't have any of the features of the other race. And because it's a mutation and it's uncommon, like that race has a name for it. I don't know what the name is. That race has like they understand the concept of it, but all they do is get changelings essentially ready to survive. Like they'll raise them to a point and then like, all right, you're out. Like
you're a weirdo.
we're
Get
not
out.
gonna yeah, we're not gonna, like, send you up the river on a floating piece of bark when you're a baby, but we don't want you hanging around really any longer than we have to. Like, in their eyes, we're sort of an aberration. Like, they don't love it so much. So, that's kinda where I was thinking. So once, my race kind of kicked me, I've just been kind of bog witching for some 100 years, whatever we decide is appropriate. Um So we don't really know how old Gimgam is, and because they're changeling, they could appear to be any age, but she definitely chooses to look like an old human woman.
Okay. I love all of that. That's all really cool. Um, and I so like my yes and with that is we haven't talked about to any degree whether or not what the I particularly like taking on this sort of sinistery like that like people who are like okay we're not going to kill you we're not going to slow you up the river but you can't be with us because you're an
Right.
aberration. There's a little bit of a sinisterness to that and I am wondering and I'm just putting this out here I like the idea of you coming from a Fae background then.
Okay. Yeah,
Like,
that's fine.
so it doesn't have to necessarily be the Eladrin because the Eladrin to me is very much I don't know which world it comes from, but to me it seems hyper specific to one of the established D&D worlds.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so whatever it is that we come up with, it'll be for Navyshla, and
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
base it maybe on some kind of maybe. I'm not going to use Seelie on Unseelie Court for the Fae either,
Sure.
unless somebody tells me they want to.
Right.
Uh,
Different.
but I like the idea of maybe you have the reason you have these changeling things. This is an aberration of of a Fae thing.
Sure. Yeah, and I like that.
Totally
And when
fits.
I came up with this, I didn't have a specific race in mind. I just thought like, who's the most long lived? Let's start there and see where we can go. I like the idea that it's a Fae thing, and it totally makes sense that the Fae would like kick someone out for
Right. Like
the
what
you're not conforming. You're not non-conforming the way we want you to. So
to
go
me it's
non-conform somewhere else.
some of the like the Germanic and Celtic myths around fairy folks are they're baby stealers. So this is almost the opposite.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you know, um, and maybe there might be something to that I might keep on the back pocket to reveal later, because
Sure.
I just had about 6 or 7 like oh we could do this we could do that we do and your character wouldn't know so it would be kind of fun to maybe have some backstory to that
Yeah.
gets revealed in game.
Well,
But
here's another thing. I was just thinking when you brought up baby stealers, maybe generally speaking, people don't. Maybe the wider world does know about changelings, sort of as like a folklore sort of
as a
thing,
folklore, right?
and they don't like them because every time a changeling is outcast from,
They take a baby.
they take a baby.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. Okay.
So if someone bumps into a changeling, they're like, "Oh, you're the reason that
There,
John from down the road's baby disappeared," or
there's a
probably not,
blood price,
probably not
and
John.
of
Yeah,
course all of that is just maybe even completely not true.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, because I could see that getting into like a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah,
Oh yeah, it could
like
be a myth. It could be a myth that the Fae perpetuate because they want people to kill changelings, but they
oh,
can't do it themselves. So they're trying to trick mortals into doing
oh,
it by
that's fun
perpetuating this
too.
baby stealing myth. But maybe my character doesn't know. I don't know what the actual truth is on it.
No,
I know what the myths are. I know what the legend is. I know that I have to be careful about who knows what I am
right.
because people might not
Well,
take kindly to it.
there are all kinds of, and the care is going to have to be taken here just from a sensitivity thing here because there
Sure.
actually a couple, like not a couple, I think it was almost a decade now. Angelina Jolie made a movie called The Changeling, which was about somebody who swapped out a baby,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and some of that stuff gets tied into anti-Semitism and anti-Roma,
Sure.
and so you know, there's as long as we're talking about it from the supernatural point of view,
Right.
but not like as long as it stays supernatural, as
Yeah.
long as
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that a lot of that'll be on me, but I just want to make sure we don't start creating analogies to blood
Sure.
libel, towards
Absolutely.
Jews and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, speaking as a Jew, Um,
Right.
so, uh, so yeah, that's yeah. But I think we can balance that. I love the idea of because one of the common, I mean, in the game we play against the Giants, Ed plays a Fae
Mhm.
touched wanderer, not originally Fae,
Sure.
but raised Fae, and there's always this idea of the bargain is struck,
Mhm.
um, a thing for
Yep.
a thing, and that's
Got
sort
it.
of how like Ashley Johnson sort of plays Fern as well on
Right.
Critical Role.
Mhm.
There's this thing for this thing, this
Right.
so I
Well, and I can see that for this character as well. I'm giving you a trinket because you gave me a, can of venison or,
venison, yeah,
meats or whatever it
breakfast
is.
meats,
Yeah.
breakfast meats in a
Right.
bento box.
Like, Gim Gam is not doing pro bono work. Maybe they don't always charge a lot or ask for a lot, but there's always an exchange.
There's an exchange. Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, let's situate Gim Gam. All
Pulling up
right,
a map. Is it
I
map time?
it is map time. I am switching our frame over. So if you're on the Twitch, this should go to Navyshla. I don't
There
know.
it is. Something's up. Is it a log cabin?
That was it should switch over now to a map of the
There we go.
southwest corner
Yeah.
as laid out on a map. So what we have thus far is Ervocale is where the campaign's going to begin.
Right.
We have several things already kind of named and happening in Ervocale. Last session, Dawson sort of uh, stated his character was coming from the east, so that's why we have the "Here There Be Dragon Colts."
Sure.
And then he left that, fled after the failed worldwide coup of his cult.
Right.
Oh, I apparently I have "Here There Be Dragon Colts."
Good gone. Did
Dragon
you type that in
Colts.
after your last session?
I typed it in while we were talking, and I
Got
couldn't
it.
see the map, so I was actually just typing and hoping I spelled it right. Um,
I did not realize that Ervocale was so small.
well, it this is all of Navyshla.
Right. I
Um,
mean, I'm just saying compared to the other continents,
yes,
I didn't realize that it was small.
and yet Ervocale's about uh, 300 miles across.
Okay.
So, um, you know, it's about the size of, you know, maybe a little smaller than Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah. Which, as I think about it, I've probably made the world a little small. Um,
All right. It could be a
but
small world.
it's a small world. Yeah.
I didn't want to do it. Didn't want
It's
to do it.
it's actually about 250 across, which is going to be way smaller than Iowa. Um, given the scope I've put here.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, I'm a little bummed with myself for my scaling, but it's what we're gonna go with because I'm not
Yeah.
redoing it, and it,
It'll be
it
fine.
doesn't need to be enormous. So
Right.
okay, so we've got the Dragagon cults
Mm,
to the east. We have a port city named Divana to the west,
mm,
and
yep.
the Bellaforth Wastes past there. The Keeling Sea is to the north, and the I am not going to be able to say it correctly, but Kiowahi's people uh, tend to sort of nomadically travel through the Keeling Sea and down along the east coast of Ervocale, and then into the Vechnia Spans, and then back up into the Keeling Sea.
Right.
Um, we also know that these little islands off the coast where my cursor is, I don't know if you can see that on the
Yeah. Sort of.
this area here is where uh, Dusty's character's coming from.
Talk to me about. I'm interested in the Bellaforth Wastes.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about the Bellaforth Wastes.
I can tell you almost nothing other than they are not habitable because they're
Okay,
wastes.
sure.
I do not know if, when I named it that, I do not know if I intended for that to be deserts, rocky type of
Hmm.
terrain, or swampy moorish. It could go either way, but I think I lean more towards, having watched a couple videos about land masses and how geography works, that on that side of the mountain, depending on how the wind blows,
Hmm.
it's more likely to have water on that side
Sure.
because they
Yeah.
would dump it if the wind is blowing easterly. If
Okay.
everything moves easterly like it does on Earth, then everything would be dumping there before, as it hits the mountains, then coming across.
So part of me likes the idea of being in the wastes,
Okay.
and maybe there are some small cities in the mountains, and that's where my clientele comes from, or my patrons come from. Maybe some of the halflings have to make their way inland on occasion for a thing or two. Though I don't know, that's a mountain range, right?
It
Right next to the
is,
wastes. Okay, so maybe the halflings are not coming up over a mountain to
but
see me.
they certainly could come here, you know. But yeah, if you're on this side, we have the delay here, but if you're on this side, it would be mildly incongruous, although Ed's character left the flotilla. So, um, it wouldn't be necessarily impossible that some would travel, but why they would travel to see you would be maybe a little bit of a stretch.
Sure. So, is there maybe on the eastern side? Maybe I started in the wastes.
Okay.
That's where I spent a good chunk of my time, and then just realized that even I couldn't hack it there. Like I was like, oh, this actually kind of sucks a little. Let me cross the mountains and set up in like a small scale swamp or a small scale forest type thing, on
Ah,
the other side of the mountains. And
well,
maybe even it's not a swamp. It's a forest area, and I just keep my area of it sort of unkempt and wet.
swampy.
Yeah, I go out with my hose and I'm spraying my lawn down all the time to make sure it's nice and soggy when people come to visit. I transplant mushrooms from other places to my front yard so the spores can spread.
All right. Ooh, I like that name.
What you come up with, or what did it come up with?
Sullenglen.
Which one? Bellinglen?
Sullenglen.
So, oh yeah, that
Uh,
seems like a place that she would set up.
Perfect.
So is that dot there gonna be the city of, or the town of Sullenglen,
I think
or are you naming the area Sullenglen?
I'm gonna name the area Sullenglen. And I think maybe the towns there maybe have names, maybe don't.
They could be like unincorporated town number 752,
And people just maybe
like
call it town
yeah.
because they don't uh, because they don't necessarily leave. You
Yeah,
know, they're
apparently there are towns in Maine that are still like
town.
state town number 752 or
Yeah,
some such something like that. So,
wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, I like the
Uh,
idea, like
yeah,
town and then like down the road to the other town.
other town down the road, but they may name, it might. That's how things like that get names, is because it's an entire family that lives there that made the town, so they call it like Johnstown because it's
Johnstown,
John's
Jonestown. Yeah.
Jones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This is Gim Gam's Glen.
Gim Ganglin, Gim Ganglin. Potions are for closers. Just sounded like Glengarry Glen Ross to me. Uh, Man, that echo is driving me nuts. So it's one thing I don't like about Their draft is it just hates to not drop text down. Like you can't
Uh,
just drop one down and have it. It just assumes you're going to want to put numerous text fields down, and like I don't
sure.
ever work that way. Um,
Um,
okay,
okay.
so
So,
starting out in the country of Divana to the west, how does your character get to Ervokale, where our story is centered?
that is a really good question. I think at this point in time, I've been trying to think like, what's a compelling reason for Gimgam to leave her swamp home where she's comfortable and she's got all of her little like tchotchkes and things hanging from the ceiling, and she's got a nice like goblin core vibe going on. Like it's, she's really comfortable there. The only thing that I could think of that was really compelling was that something happened to the girl that named her,
Ooh,
but I don't know what. And maybe I don't need to know what it is. Maybe her mom came and begged for help because her daughter went missing and she thinks that maybe she's an herbocale for some reason. I don't want to get like grim on like kidnappings and things like that. Um, but like for some reason this little girl left and Gimgam is compelled to find out why and what happened. So she's maybe going to set out to Herbocale, and in exchange, the mother has to keep an eye on the swamp habitat. Because I can't do it for free, even though I want to. Or maybe it's the only thing I've done for free.
ooh.
Payment upon services rendered. But that's the only thing I could come up with that felt compelling for this like
No, I
homebody type character. Like I was thinking of me, like if I, Chris Durkin, became a bog witch, like as an introvert, what would pull me out of my bog to actually like go be around the people again?
and
And yeah,
it would be to help somebody who is
yeah,
helpless, who
yeah, yeah.
had been kind.
Right, right.
Okay. Now, the way I heard you tell the story earlier, and we're not in stone or anything with this,
Yeah, yeah.
but it sounded like she called you Gim Gam when she was a little girl, and time has passed, and other people. So, how old is this maybe woman when she goes missing? How many years have elapsed? How many years have you been Gim Gam?
I have been Gim Gam for at least a decade.
Okay,
So the little girl's at least 14 now, teenager,
okay,
at least. Could be older if that makes more sense. 14, 16, 18, 20, something.
okay.
Um,
Now I want to do this. Book. Officer is in Tasha's.
Source
Okay.
book. What are we looking up?
Artificer. Um, you have how many spells? Um,
Things I should know, but I have not actually rolled the character up yet.
oh, that's fine. No, you shouldn't know it. There's no reason for that yet. I'm just wondering, like, when can you infuse something with a first level spell?
Right. It is not at first level. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. And I'm not this is not me vying to be a higher level or
No,
anything.
no,
I
no,
think
no.
maybe all the services that Gimgam has offered at this point have been more like herbalism type things. Because
Right.
I think that is one of the proficiencies that you
Well, you can
can
infuse things
get as
with
an artificer.
cantrips, right? Like, oh no, you can't
So
infuse until like third level, I think, actually. Second level is when
okay,
you can infuse things.
gotcha.
So at first level, you just you use your cantrips using sort of items to
Mhm.
um,
All
and
right.
looking at the cantrips you have quite a few choices available to you. Um, large. Um, yeah, it's a pretty large cantrip. I was wondering if I'm looking here to see if it's ever available to you, and it is not.
What is it?
Augury,
Hmm,
and yeah, which is fine. I mean, and there's no reason why we couldn't, because I think Augury is a first level spell. Um, but the reason I'm rabbit holing right here is like, could there be a reason you go to Ervokill is because you have like this divining rod,
hmm.
and augury works goodwill, badwill.
Right,
And so
right,
you walk like, a day, and then you do your augury thing.
right, right.
But it's not going to work mechanically. I
No, I think honestly, like this woman came to me because she didn't know where else to go. No one else, either no one else cares, or no one else has listened, or no one else believes her. And after that first instance of the girl showing kindness to Gim Gam, they sort of fused a bond and they came back. It wasn't just a one-time thing because Gim Gam provided the service, helped them out, whatever. They came back because the little girl wanted to come back. I want to go see Gim Gam. I want to bring her this or I want to bring her that. So this girl was dragging her mom out to visit. And even if it was like we had extra muffins or,
Okay.
we had extra of this or that. So she is familiar. The mom has always kind of kept the distance. Like, I don't really love this, but my kid is happy and
Right.
seems like a nice enough thing, and my kid's showing kindness, and I really want to foster that. So, um, and then the girl goes disappeared, and now the mom is like, now I actually have to like ask this bog witch for something again because it's the only person that I can think of that might actually care enough to help. So I
Okay.
might not have any sort of like divining ability or any way. Like I don't know how I'm gonna find this kid, but I guess I'm gonna go to Ervocale and tunnel around until I figure it out.
Okay. So like maybe all science pointed to, this young lady uh traveling east, and maybe the reason you're at Ervokill is you were able to track her down to one of the ports and found out she had made her way to Ervokill, and you just
Sure.
okay.
And I had to hitch a ride with a halfling longboat
Oh yeah, okay.
to get over there.
Maybe offering some services in kind
Right.
to the halflings who just happen to be floating around.
Right.
So
I'm
we
out there hitchhiking on the canal.
uh on the
I
on
need
the
a I need a ride across the sea.
it's a big thumb. Um so this means we need a new map.
Dora the Explorer's got nothing on you.
Map, it's the map, it's the map. Okay. Why are you missing? Open. Just the hard way. Island of Kill. All right. So, thanks to Dawson, we now actually even have a town that's on the west side of Ervocale.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean, because if you hitched a ride with Ed's folk,
It's Urvocale.
um, that doesn't mean you would necessarily, you know,
Hmm.
disembark at a western port.
Sure.
You may go all the way around Ervocale,
Yeah.
or there is one port, as yet unnamed, on the southwest side of Ervocale.
Sure.
Um, and so, what would you prefer, knowing that we're starting our game around here?
Starting around where?
Hazel Shade in the northeast quadrant. Here, I'm
Oh,
circling it a little bit.
I think that's a good question.
Now,
I
Dawson's character was initially wandering between Twinburn Gate in Walden's Way, and then eventually uh, trying to find out more about what was happening, signs and portents, made his way to Hazelshade and then to Ashenvane.
It could be that I disembarked at that southwestern. Is that a southwestern port right there? Like
This
right on the.
this one here. Can you see me circle?
I cannot see you circle. Do I have my east and my west messed up?
Southwest is
Yeah,
lower
right over there.
left. Yep,
Yeah, is that a port right there?
that is a port.
So maybe I disembarked at that yet to be named port and um and started asking around and someone said, "Oh yeah, someone meeting that description came through here. Last I heard they were headed to Hazelshade."
Oh, okay.
So then I'm trying to follow that lead, whether it's real or not. That's what's moving me in that direction. And it could be that I bummed a ride with Ed's character to get to the continent, and that I bumped into Dawson's character halfway there, and we traveled together for a little bit.
We will
Or
do that kind of
okay,
stuff with the all of us together building Navyshla. So as I think I've mentioned, this is for a table game. Uh, uh, and then I'm also doing this online with another group of people who want to play the online version. And I'm going to set it not on Ervocale. So the online one will be in another part of Navyshla.
I do have sincere hope that at some point in time the table party encounters the digital party, and you have to run a 10-person hybrid table slash digital game
I would
like session.
love I would love the 4 to 8 hour session that would be.
Eh,
Personally, I would love that.
mhm.
I think the players would hate it. Uh, but in any case, I don't. I think my point being is, I guess what that is we are going to do another round with, like, the next person we have yet to talk to for the table game is Robin,
Right.
and then we're going to do a big all of us together. And how do you all know each other, or
Gotcha.
do you know each other?
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And then how long have you all been, like, everybody mentioned how long they've been in Ashenvane at the end of their session.
Mhm.
And so it might be I just got
Right.
there the day that we started, or it might be I've been here for a couple of weeks. Dusty's character has been there for months, as I recall.
So where
Um,
where did you say we're starting?
it's not easy to see on this map. I need to bring up yet another map. But
Is it a is
if
it
you
a different town?
if you see Hazelshade,
I do.
Hazelshade is the capital of the Corsa River District, but Ashenvane is too small for this map. So I
So that's where we're supposed to be ending up.
1 second, Corsa Valley.
Another map.
What? What? Why? Why? Why did it do it like that? Uh-oh. I might have oversaved a map, and I'm gonna
Ew.
have to redraw it. And I am gonna be super bummed about that.
That's a bummer.
Okay, well, Ashen Vein is. Can you see where my um my crosshairs are kind of? I know it's gonna be really tiny for you.
I see that they're sort of like under the word Herbocale.
Nope. I am. It's like a
Oh,
little bit under the SH of
all
Hazelshade.
right. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah,
Yep, that's kind of where Ashen Vein is on the map.
got it. Got it.
Um, and so uh, we'll have you having landed in the city of Elder Cape in the southwest,
Yep.
and then
Which
you
you
will.
you just named
I
just now.
just know, yeah,
Got it.
because I kind of like the creepy naming convention that
Uh,
Wondercraft uses. Like, I'm gonna put two words together and we'll see if it's creepy sounding. And uh, so I've used it for all of them except for Ervocale itself is mine and Vetchny Expanse is mine. Everything else uh, is come from this name generator, which I
If it ain't
enjoy.
broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Seems to be just fine.
Uh, it is well, that's not true. Ishtadrum and Gentacet I named because I was tired of them all being English sounding English word root. So not wanting to be overly anglicized with it. But I do like some of these names. I think they're fun. Um, so we'll have you heading up that direction. You head to Hazelshade, and eventually may make your way to Ashenvane because same reason.
Could be that, or it could be um, I stopped off at Ashenbane for some reason on the
Okay,
way to Hazel Street.
okay, that could be.
So I would think either way I've probably just arrived.
Okay, this is great. So what I've brought up now is the map of Ashenvane
Hmm,
and
yeah, you did.
uh, population 480. And one thing that we've had created is there's an older woman who lives in a house who is the busybody of the neighborhood, sort of a crank, but also knows everything that's happening and has been befriended by Dusty's character.
Okay.
That character is Gorba, and she lives in this house on the side of the town uh, square.
Okay.
The main place where you would stay if you were, I don't know what just happened. Did Miles just walk in a towel?
And grab your wine glass.
Yes, and take it away from the wine box, which is on my desk.
What a sight that was to see on my end.
I know, and everybody's so excited to have seen that much of Miles.
Sorry, I was gonna get you line.
Thank you, I
I
appreciate
was
that.
trying not to get you banned on Twitch.
Yeah, please don't get me banned on Twitch.
That's why I wore a towel.
I'm already gonna be banned on Twitch
He's,
for hawking
he's already
winking
on
owl.
he's already on thin ice for
Okay.
his winking owl
Alright.
spot.
All right. So
Was he apologizing to me or all of Twitch?
I think all of Twitch, but it might have been to you. I don't know.
Sorry, Twitch.
And Chris.
I like that I'm the secondary thought on that.
Well, you've been to our house. You know that
Right,
kid.
right. I do.
Yeah, he's a weird
I
one.
now know him. I now know him more than I wanted to.
I think that goes for everybody. Um, all right. So getting back to this, the one tavern that has rooms, the only inn in town, is the Owl and Empress.
Is it a winking owl or just a regular owl?
Well, you know, here on this Twitch channel, we really love a winking owl and Empress. And all, if you're looking for something to sponsor, um, um,
You can talk to our lawyer, Edward Henry.
yes, he is licensed to practice in Wisconsin and Iowa.
Is he licensed? Is he licensed in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
Probably shouldn't use his full name either.
probably shouldn't. Ed's probably having a
I'm,
conniption right now on the other side.
I'm, I'm real sorry about
But
that.
the good news is there are 5 people watching, 2 of whom are bots, or 6
Right.
people watching, 2 of whom are bots. Um, so Ed says not helpful.
Sorry, Ed. I'll be better.
All right, sorry.
Oh, we're at the Owl and the Empress.
The Owl and Empress Inn, and that takes me to a question. You get a fun task.
Oh.
This is the Owl and Empress Inn. And, well, the first floor of it anyway. And it also has second floor rooms, um, including common areas, etc., etc. Um, I have already NPC generated an innkeeper for this, but it's just stats. I don't have much of anything. So, is the innkeeper of the Owl and Empress present as a gender? And if so, which one?
Oh, I was not. I
Yeah,
don't think I
here
was.
you go. You,
You've thrown me off here.
sorry,
They're non-gender conforming.
non-gender conforming. Okay. And uh, what is like when you think of what's the best innkeeper? Like, because everybody comes up with the grumpy innkeeper, but grumpy innkeepers go out of business.
Right, right,
So, what
right.
what is this innkeeper's uh like what's this person's sort of claim to fame? Why do people even even though it's the only one in town, that's great, but this one's been around for generations. What's great about this innkeeper?
Right. We'll see if you get the reference. What if we say Bloody Marys?
Wait a minute.
It was from like one of our first
First,
when we were playing Pathfinder.
oh, Basil.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes the best. Okay,
Makes
so
the best bloody makes the best Bloody Marys.
that's right.
And you're
Okay.
like, yeah, in the
Uh,
fantasy world, Bloody Marys. Okay.
all
We get a
right.
good blood. No, it
So
doesn't have to be
no, that's fine. That's totally fine if you want it to be that, because all that. So now I go. Okay. Well, why would Ash and Vane have awesome Bloody Marys? Well, they have to have tomato juice,
that. Right.
which means Ash and Vane grows great tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which would be weird, given that it's a well, not really. I mean, Wisconsin, you can grow great tomato.
Yeah. I've grown great tomatoes in Wisconsin.
Okay. So we're going to say Ashen Vein is predominantly known for the two mines that it has. And then also, it's really good for produce, particularly tomatoes and other root vegetable. Not tomatoes aren't root vegetables, but other root vegetables like celery
Oh sure. Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
celery. Is celery a
they grow
root?
the Bloody
Celery's not
Mary
a root
garden.
vegetable, is it? That grows up.
Uh
That grows
it's
up and out. It's
yeah, it depends on
celeriac.
yeah, it depends on what part you're eating. But generally speaking, no, it's not because it's got the
Okay,
big stars.
stalk. But
Yeah.
celery and tomatoes can grow well in the same environment, right? Like so.
Yes. Celery likes it a little more. I think no wait, maybe they don't like it wet. They don't like soggy feet. So yes, they could grow in the same environment.
Okay, so that is something that is really grows well in ashen vein, tomatoes and celery and other herbs and whatever. And basically, this person has taken that and made a drink because could potatoes grow well?
Yep.
Okay, so then vodka might be a drink that
Oh sure, yeah.
is distilled in ashen vein. So it is a vodka drinking place that also has a plethora of tomatoes and other things to make a Bloody Mary.
Sure.
All right, now we've
We're
got
not
a
just
little bit of
we're not
ashen
just
vein.
making a whole smorgasbord of things.
No,
for It's fine. It'll work.
we can if you
No,
want.
I think this is good.
Okay.
Vodka not for boys.
All right.
It's true. Game is not boy though.
Gim Gam like vodka.
Game will drink anything if
Oh, Gim Gam's now Russian.
Gim Gam again can be whatever Gim Gam needs to be.
All right. So, we have now come up with a little bit more of the economy of ashen vein. We have a non-binary innkeeper. I'm not going to put the pressure on you to come up with a name. I can do that myself. But that gives me a great idea for how to build this NPC.
Okay.
So perfect. All right. Other things that you want to have be part that you have always wanted to have in a fantasy setting that you haven't had.
Okay. Short answer, no. I
Okay.
don't think there's anything that I've ever like other than a dungeon and a dragon at the same time. Like I've seen dragons and I've seen dungeons, but I've never seen dragons in dungeons
Not
in one
true.
of the games that
Not
I played.
true.
What game did we have a dragon
There's
in?
a gold dragon at the bottom of a dungeon that you.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
In Dragon Heist, we
Dragon
literally
Heist
just had a dragon in
in
a
a
dungeon.
dungeon.
Well, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even need to play Navyshla, so like I've got everything.
Yeah, it
You've I've
hard to
won
think of
D&D
that
now,
as
so
a real Dungeons and Dragons type of epic adventure because
right.
the gold dragon was like, "Oh man, logic. All right, here you guys go. See ya." you know.
Um, no, I don't think there's anything I've ever really been like, man, I wish there were more of this in a D&D game. Like
Okay.
I've always been pretty generally happy with what I've been given.
All
I've
right.
never fought a dragon. I've never fought a beholder. I've never fought an illithid.
You
Um,
fought dragons. You fought a black dragon in Crimea
that's right, I did.
and a
Yep,
Draco Lich, not
right.
in at the
Actually,
conclusion of Crimea.
and we were illithid adjacent in Dragon Heist.
Yeah, you ran into one, but he walked
Yeah,
away.
yeah, he
I
was
would
like,
not
yeah,
call that fighting a.
it's boring.
Yeah, that's not the
Not
same.
worth, not worth my time.
I fought a mind flayer in 1E back when I was a kid. Um, I died. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I've ever really been like.
So like,
I
no,
need, I need this thing
you don't need
that's
like
missing.
gunpowder to be in here or
No, no,
space
I don't
travel.
know. No, no, I'll swing with it if it happens. Like Kim Cam's down for anything, but um, and she presents as a curmudgeonly old scary woman, but she's seen some shit. Like she's been around. So in her centuries, she used to party a little bit. You know,
Okay.
yeah, did her thing.
She's
Um,
been with the cocaine.
yeah, she's hung out. She's seen the world a little bit. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, no, I don't think there's anything that I'm like yearning for that I must have. Did I hit all of your other questions though?
Let's review the list quickly.
Review the list.
Who named you? Are there naming conventions? Does your name have a meaning? Yep, got all that.
Check, check, check.
We talked about your people and ancestral home and why are you not there?
Yep.
How does your background inform your character's story and motivations? We talked about that. Yes, everything's a
Yep.
bargain. Everything has got a
Yep.
price. Is your background important to your culture? Well, you're sort of divorced from your culture in that way.
Yeah, very
Uh,
much.
does your background relate to all the place of origin? Yeah, with the background of having the Fae ancestry.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, why did your character become this class? That we went right into. Um, how did they become this class? We talked about that. Motivations. Your motivation
Oh,
goal is to find this girl. Your task for the future is to name the girl.
hmm
Uh,
Okay.
who, if anyone, is your character closest to? Probably this
I,
girl or her
yeah,
mom, right? Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably
Yeah.
say the girl or her mom. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I've asked this one specifically of anybody yet. What is your most treasured? What is their most treasured possession?
I don't know. That's a good question. Either the hut in general,
Ooh, fun.
like I'm like this is the home that I made. Like this is the home that I chose.
Right.
Like I said, I spent time getting tchotchkes and hanging things from the ceilings and getting that like swamp aesthetic,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
my
yeah.
bitten out of poison apple sitting just so on my table. So I would say probably that home because I made it and I didn't have a home before I made that home. Like I was kicked out of what was my home.
Wow.
So so
Yeah,
that hut is my most treasured possession.
yeah.
So the fact that I'm leaving it and leaving it to this woman to care for while I try to go find her daughter, kind of a big deal.
I am. I love your answer so much, and it makes me bummed that I did not ask. everybody that
Every,
question.
everyone's
Um,
got homework.
well, I think some answered it in roundabout ways, but that question really comes from Call of Cthulhu.
Sure.
One of the Yeah, I was gonna say, Ed, you gave me yours. Yeah. Um, the Ed, part of the awesomeness of you going first was you really set the tone, but you're also the one I remember the least, and now I'm gonna have to rewatch all these and take notes again, which is what I intended to do in the first place. uh, but the uh, the the oh man, the, in Cthulhu, these possessions are things the keeper can use to really twist at the horror or create
Sure.
motivations. And I thought, even if it's not to grab the horror
Sure.
or create trauma,
Hmm.
it adds depth to know what that is and to maybe even have it like, in a dream sequence bring it up like you
Sure.
see this. So
Yeah.
I don't remember Ed's, but the I want to make sure I don't lose sight of that because I do in Call of Cthulhu all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All right. Um, oh, what scares your character?
I think the thing that's a toss
Yeah,
up. It's either being found out, as a
being re-
changeling,
being revealed
as
as a
yeah,
changeling. Yeah,
being revealed as a changeling, or that the one mortal, and again, Gim Gam's been around.
yeah,
She's done her fair share of getting around. So she has had relationships with mortals and other people. She has had like intimacies and things like that. Um, but this girl is the first person who has shown her any sort of like what's the word? I can't remember the word. There's a word for it. When unconditional care.
unconditional care and affection.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say,
yeah,
like, and you are so transactional, and this person gave you
right.
affection without expecting it in return.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So it's either being found out as a changeling or that something truly awful has happened to this person who actually just gave me unconditional care and affection with no expectation of anything. And anytime they did come just to like drop off muffins or an extra jar of preserves or whatever it was that this kid wanted to bring, I would always have to give something, right? Even if this was intended to be a gift, I always felt like I had to, like, here's a shiny rock, or here's a copper coin, or here's a doll that was carved, or like I've always given something back because I was still growing accustomed to that unconditional care.
nice.
So, well, I think we'll go with that. I think
Okay,
that's probably something. I'm afraid the biggest fear is something truly awful has happened to this girl, followed by a second of someone's
being
going to find out
discovered.
what changed. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Um, not gonna go into those questions because we haven't really been going into them with. Well,
Sure.
it doesn't. That's not true. We went into them pretty deeply with
Yeah.
Ed and Dusty. These are about your culture.
Right. And I
But
like,
yours are we've already kind of established you're kind of orphaned out from your culture.
right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and uh, and we answered these other ones too about this as far as, and I actually don't even want to ask you that one. Because I kind of like the idea of you not having one, which is creation myths.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, although if you want to have one, I don't want to take that away from you. But
I don't
having
know. I'd have to think about that because I would say like I grew up with the Fae to a degree. Like they raised me well enough that I could survive on my own. So they had to have taught me something.
something, okay,
And maybe there were other children who were like me
okay,
that I was learning with, but when they cast us out, they cast us out in different places. So
okay,
like I might
that's
have
fun.
I might have I might have grown up with, Sabrina the Changeling from next door, but I
Sabrina
don't
the
have any.
Good Changeling.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea where Sabrina the Good Changeling
Yeah.
is now. Like, she could be halfway across the world, or dead, or have
You,
gotten back into the Fae realm. Like, no clue. And she's a changeling, so even if I bump into her, I may not know that it's her because I wasn't being an old hag my whole life.
right. Okay. So here's the next question. How do the Fae feel about the dragons being the deities of Navyshla?
Hmm.
Are they okay with it? Did the Fae come before the dragons?
Oh, this is like deep, deep,
Because
like
the dragons
historical.
came after the elements.
I would like to think that the Fae came before the dragons,
Okay.
and they're intensely jealous that the dragons are getting the attention.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to do anything about it,
Right.
other than maybe some like traveler style trickery.
Sure.
But like, I think they're like, it was bullshit. We were here first. We're way cooler than dragons. Like, F you, dragons. We're
Okay.
sort of upset about this.
Okay. I will weave that in. I am out of questions. Do you have other things you wish to discuss? We've gone a little over
No?
an hour, which has
Yeah,
been about the time that we've gone with all of these. So,
sure. No,
uh,
I feel good.
all right, good.
I felt like I was going to be underprepared, but it sounds like we hit the most pertinent questions.
Sure
We
did.
got to name some stuff, including a whole region and a port town.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
And we have a little bit of the identity of one of the main NPCs in Ashenvale.
All right, there we go.
So, and part of the reason, like I just was saying, like Ed went first and he set the bar really high, I think, and then we've gone forward and like I have to rewatch all of these, but that's also why I want to bring everybody together too. Again, is to see how these all interweave, but also to see how they inform each other because
Sure.
we're doing these separately and it would be a lot of fun to do them together, but then I think some ideas would get lost and I like everybody
Right.
getting the individual attention.
Right.
Um, so that's why I want to bring everybody together at the end and say, okay, now what do we want to talk about? And I'll come up with some new questions for that group chat as well.
Well,
But
and Ed couldn't build off anybody.
right,
I've
right.
seen Ed, Dusty, and Dawson all, so I've already got sort of an idea of
So it gives Ed a chance to build. That's what I meant to say too. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like Ed will get a chance, and Dusty, who went pretty early, will get a chance to build
yeah,
off as well. So yeah,
yeah.
perfect. All
Cool.
right. Well, I think we're gonna call it a session of building Navyshla. Thanks, Chris, for being my guest,
Yeah. Thanks for
and
having me.
and
We're
we
all out.
we will talk to you all later. And if you're one of the 4 people who are humans who are watching this, and you want to hang out in the Discord chat afterwards, we'll see you over there. Well, I don't know, Chris, if you're going to bed or not, but I'm not. I'm going to go over there. I'll talk to you later. All right. Have a
Yeah.
good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.